A few years ago, something happened at work that stuck with me. One of my managers passed away unexpectedly. His name was Cory. Great guy, hard worker. Everyone respected him. And I remember about a week after he had passed away, I had to go online to post his job. And even talking about that now brings back some memories for me. And it just was a reminder of how quickly our jobs will move on without us. I had a boss one time tell me that this company was here before us and it would be here long after us. And so, this isn't about blaming companies. Businesses have to keep operating. But that moment forced me to realize something uncomfortable. Your job provides income, but it doesn't provide security. And that realization is what pushed me to start building more assets and to think about long-term escaping, corporate America again, not because it's bad, not because we don't want to work, but because life is short and we want to take that time to spend time with the ones we love. This is Sean with Paycheck the Portfolio. And this morning, we're going to talk about how we can replace our paycheck so we're not relying on our jobs and we have time to spend with the ones that we love. Let's jump right into the portfolio this morning. Then we'll go step by step through this calculator I built on replacing your paycheck. And then we'll talk about some of the quotes as well. Looking at the portfolio this morning, the net account value is sitting at $182,244. My total unrealized gain is sitting at $36,426, or basically 10.5%. Last week was like a yo-yo in the stock market, right? We were up 2%, down 2%, up 3%, down 1%. So a lot going on in the world, obviously in the Middle East with tensions. The jobs report came out unfavorable Friday. So just a lot of fear going on in the market and the market trying to find its footing. Again, there's a saying, when in doubt, zoom out. If you go back a year ago, last June, we were in a conflict with Iran as well. QQQ, I believe, was sitting around $495. Currently, it's in the high 500s. So, when you're feeling a little uneasy about the market, we talk about dollar cost averaging and investing at the lows, the highs, and the averages. And that's all you really need to do is just keep investing, because over time, the stock market grows. Over time, the US economy grows. And if you just give it enough time to season, the market will take care of itself. And that's the way I handle my own personal finances. If you look at my performance, this is what we call the time-weighted return. This includes just the pure growth of the portfolio and any dividends received. On the 2-year chart, I'm currently sitting at 59% time-weighted return. The S&P 500's at 31, the Nasdaq's at 37.5, the Dow's at 21.5, and the Russell's at 21.5. On the 1-year chart, I'm sitting at 41%. The S&P 500's at 13, the Nasdaq's at 19, the Dow's at 8, and the Russell's at 17. On the year-to-date chart so far, I'm still net positive, over 0.5%. The S&P 500 is actually down 1.5%. The Nasdaq's had a really rough start to the year, being down almost 5%. The Dow's down almost 3.5%, and the Russell's actually doing the best out of the group because it's small caps and we've had rate cuts. But obviously a very turbulent start to the market, but you can still see we're net positive, fully living out of the brokerage account. Looking at the historical values tab, going to the 2-year chart here, while fully living out of the brokerage, the account's up $133,929. You can see 2 years ago I was at $48,875, and currently I'm up to $182,804. Now, this does include money coming into the account and money going out of the account, and I started to fully live out of my brokerage late May, early June of 2024, just for full disclosure there. But you can still see why fully living out of the account with market growth over time. I'm getting growth, compounding, and cash flow out of this account. And you can think about it like a piece of real estate. If you've ever bought a house, over time, the house appreciates in value. You can cash out, refinance to pull money out of that equity. You could rent out a room to generate cash flow. I'm trying to get both out of the quote unquote real estate ownership in my brokerage account, or the business entity that I've created is really the way I truly like to think about it. Real estate's the easiest analogy for folks to understand. So I want growth, compounding, and cash flow, which will ultimately expedite my retirement plans and set me free from a job in, say, 5 to 7 years versus your typical 20 to 30-year time frame. Let's jump right back into the paycheck replacement calculator that I built, and we'll go through that step by step. Looking at some quotes that resonated with me, the first quote struck a chord with me. The graveyards are full of indispensable men. If you look at the second quote, no man on his deathbed ever said, I wish I had spent more time at the office. And then Psalm 90 verse 12 says, so teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom. And I think that that's so important, right? We're not afraid to work. Work is a good thing. We're not afraid to provide for our families. That's a great thing, right? But what we don't want to get so wrapped up in our work that we lose sight of the things around us, the beauty around us, our families, the the moments that we have in life. And you can obviously work full time and still get all of those things. I just want to try to expedite that so I can take trips with my family, go on mission trips, serve at my church, those type of things. So, if we can number our days and have an attitude of gratitude, then obviously we can move into the paycheck to portfolio mindset and work towards something sustainable long term. Looking at the dashboard here, I created a calculator because I get this question quite a bit, and it's actually in a survey I put out this week, which we'll talk about in a minute. So what this calculator does is basically you'll be able to enter your inputs, and it will give you a paycheck replacement meter. So currently, I make about $132,000 a year. You can take your own income and plug it in here. My portfolio currently is sitting at about $382,000 of gross portfolio value. I have a gross and net portfolio value because I'm fully invested and then I'm borrowing from my equity to live. So my net portfolio is sitting at 182,000. My gross portfolio value is right around 380,000. My annual income, when you break that up over the course of a year, ebbs and flows. If you look at E-Trade, it looks at the last distribution and annualizes it out by 12. But if you take the yields over the course of a year, I'm sitting right at about $54,000 a year of annual income, which breaks down to about $4,400, almost $4,500 of monthly income. Currently, my portfolio yield as a whole is sitting at 14%. Now, I've been investing since 2008, so I have a large holdings in long-term growth stocks. When my paycheck comes in right now, I try to split it 50-50. 50% growth, closed-end funds, 50% high-yield funds specifically. I have 39 positions currently. You can see right now my dividends replace about 44.5% of my income, and this will show you your progress there. And then at a glance, it will show you your income replacement rate, your monthly shortfall, your annual gap, your current monthly dividends, your current annual dividends, and the target. It will grab all of your holdings here, and it will actually break it up into a position value and annual dividend income by holding down here. So it will break up each individual holding, grab your number of shares, the price currently, the yield of those shares, the annual income, again, the monthly amount, and the position value here, along with the charts I outlined over here, which will be available in the allocation by value. Jumping into the projection, so monthly, I'm fully investing $10,100. My portfolio is yielding between 14 and 15%. Again, you can update this and it will update the data there just in real time just to show you how it kind of works. So we'll actually put 14 in here. I have zero dividend growth just because, some of these high yield funds are designed to pay out a distribution so their value can decrease over time. I get a lot of questions about what happens if these funds go to zero. They won't go to zero. They'll do a reverse split. You can look at funds like QQQY, QYLD. You can look at a lot of these covered call funds, and they have a structure that allows them to keep paying distributions. And I'll show you the structure of one just so you can understand that a little bit better under resources. But you can even put a negative number in here, right? If you want to see how it would impact you if you're afraid of some erosion or different things like that. But I'm putting 0 in here just to make it easy. Again, the starting gross portfolio values in here, my monthly paycheck target, and then this projects out 30 years, but it will actually tell you how many years until your income's fully replaced with dividends. This doesn't include any equity growth that's also compounding in the background for you with the long-term growth stocks and the closed-end funds. This is looking strictly at dividend income to replace your paycheck. And you can see the heat map over here will tell you how quickly your annual income would be replaced and what that looks like from a targeted perspective, along with a graph over here, which will show you monthly dividend income and your monthly target as well. And then finally, it will give you a FIRE score. It will give you an income replacement score with your value and your weighting, your portfolio yield, your diversification with positions. Now, I have a lot of positions. You don't need this many positions potentially, but I like to have diversification amongst the covered call funds. So I'll hold a few of the same underlyings, but with different companies. For example, I have QQQY, which is a covered call fund with Defiance, and I have QQQI, which is a covered call fund with Neos. They have different fund managers, so I'll even diversify amongst the companies. It will take your dividend growth rate. Again, I put this at 0, and then your portfolio size as well, and assign a point system there so you can track that. Under resources, this calculator and many, many others and other tools we have coming is available in our private Discord and membership. All of my resources are available under all of the pinned comments of all of my videos. You can set up white glove and personal coaching with me. That's one-on-one mentorship. You can join our private Discord and membership that has all of our tools, all of our training resources, and a community of folks all living out of their brokerage account. You can set up a one-on-one high-level 30-minute strategy call with me if you would like. And then you can download the free starter kit and simple FIRE calculator. And FIRE stands for Financially Independent Retire Early, if you want to see how that would impact your own personal finances. Every Thursday, I put out a survey just to get a pulse of what I'm thinking. And especially, I was thinking about the Cory story a lot lately. It is the hardest thing I've actually had to manage through. One, because I care deeply about him. Cory and I were close. He had a red blood cell disease. My dad eventually had died from a type of cancer called myelofibrosis, which is a very rare type of cancer. And Cory's disease would eventually turn into myelofibrosis. So we became very close just through that relationship and the similarities between what I went through with my dad and what he was going through, and when he passed away suddenly. But I was thinking about this, which in turn I put out the survey. You can see 53% of folks, that's what they put for obvious reasons. We can all relate to that Cory story in some way, shape, or form. 7% said why the traditional retirement plan is broken. 9% said what it really means to live out of a brokerage account. And 32% said using margin responsibly to scale your portfolio income. You can go on to my YouTube channel and look at my playlist. I cover all of these, and I will continue to cover these topics and make it easy for you to understand. Gronky Tonk Man, you can see some of the comments up here. I love the name, by the way. It takes me back to my childhood there. When can you finally make the jump? That's why I created this calculator, was really because of your question, right? I get that a lot, and it's how and when will dividends and equity replace my income security? You can play with this calculator, and it will give you an idea of how long it would take you. And then the comment below said, since high yield funds seem to be built for distribution to drift downward, yeah, it's a function of the NAV and the way that they pay. Won't the monthly distributions dry up if you ever stop contributing? They can decrease, but if you look at holdings right below what I put below your comment, you can go to MSTY. And this is the top 10 holdings of MSTY. That's the Yield Max covered call fund on MSTR, which is pretty polarizing just because it's very volatile. But if you look at MSTY right now, it's a $1 billion fund in net assets. You can see 46% is currently held in cash, 15% held in T-bills out to 8/6. Basically 14.5% out in T-bills till July 9th. 13% in T-bills June, 7.5% T-bills till April, 7.5% T-bills till September, 3% T-bills May, only 2.6% in a synthetic covered call position with MSTR, which is a 417 call at 130, 2% in American Government Obligations Fund, and then you can see another 1.7% in another synthetic MSTR position. I'm no mathematician, but I can guarantee you the MSTY Fund's making a lot of money off of T-bills and the cash. They're going to stay solvent. They'll keep reverse splitting. So just be careful not to take everything you hear online and assume that these funds will go to zero. The way that they're structured is more like a business than actually being fully in a position. Now they track with that position, but they're making money in other ways. Please like and subscribe if you found this video useful. We'll talk to everybody on Wednesday. Hope you have a great rest of your weekend.